Well, I've been kicked out of my near every bar around. I've been locked up for driving 120 through town. I've been shot at and cut with a knife, messing around with another man's wife. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Threw my boss out the window and got fired for my last job. Hot-wired a city truck and turned it over in the mayor's yard. Paid my brother-in-law half to death. Lost $20 on his football bet. But other than that, we ain't nothing, just good old boys. Good old boys, we're all the same. Ain't no way we'll ever change. Ain't no harm by the things we do, or the trouble that we get into. Other than a while, every once in a while, we can't help it, it's just our style. Good old boys, it's all we'll ever be.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wade and Carter Show. Ash Brent Monday. Beautiful, beautiful Monday. Glad you're all here joining us this morning. Want to thank everybody who's tuning in on Magic. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube's or the Facebooks, like and share, follow us, subscribe on YouTube. Let's get our algorithms where they need to be. Stephanie Connie, Daniel Wade White, Judge Posey on the podium this morning.
Big, beautiful Monday.
It is a big, beautiful Monday.
Whatever happened with that?
We'll discuss that.
Okay, I don't know. I think the Senate. Adam Schiff was crying. Bernie Sanders says it's the worst piece of legislation ever. That's a good sign to me. If Bernie thinks it's terrible, that probably means it's on the right track.
New York Times says it's going to add about $3 billion to the debt.
Billion or trillion?
Billion.
I mean,
Trillion. Sorry, trillion.
Okay, trillion matters. Billion doesn't matter anymore.
Misread the headline. According to the Congressional Budget Office, which isn't as bipartisan as you would believe,
or nonpartisan.
It is,
as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, sorry, nonpartisan. It's more bipartisan, as evidenced by a analysis of where they donated. The people in that budget office donated.
They all donated to Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Anyway.
All of them. That's something, isn't it?
Absolutely. It
I
is.
think they were voting or supporting based on their hope that would provide job security. That'd be my thought.
Yeah,
the Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the great folks at AT Deerland Feed. I was at Deerland Feed this weekend, visited with Jackie Parsons, picked up some snacks for my chickens.
Yourself.
Oh, I did. You know what? I did something.
They do have sodas there that are like old school,
like great
sodas.
knee-high type things. I'm going to report back to you folks, and you may think that I'm nuts, and I would like your comments. I bought a tube of ivermectin, and Jackie said that I just need to put like a dime-sized dot on my finger, and she said, just tough it out. It's going to have a fairly meh aftertaste for a couple of seconds, but try it. They've got success stories associated with it. And
I think you could go like you do with the dogs when you're giving your dogs medicine. Just put a little peanut butter on there with it. Hide that taste.
There you go. But I'm gonna try it. I'll report back. I'm tuned in. I'm fairly regular. So I'm gluten free and all that stuff. I'll let you know if I feel any different. I'll let you know if you see those horror stories of people that have like a tapeworm that's like 9 feet long come out of them, and I'll be curious.
Mostly in India.
When I was a kid, they used to say, I think that boy's got a tapeworm because I
couldn't put any weight on.
I was skinny, Those days are over. 76 degrees under partly cloudy skies in Victoria, heading to a high today of 91, 76 to 91. It looks partly cloudy most of the day. No chance of rain in the immediate forecast.
I think there's some this afternoon from what I saw.
70s to 90s all week long. Welcome to summer. Now look, I'm looking at that deal. You see any blue on there anywhere?
Oh, no, this one. This is scattered thunderstorms.
That's the Maclovio Bettis crapshoot.
The Weather Underground, the one I trust.
Yeah. You trusted as a mother. Right? You loved it as a kid. You trusted as a mother. What was that even advertising?
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Robitussin?
No. Something you eat.
Dimetap before they pulled it off the shelves. That was about the only
medicine
medicine that tasted good as a kid.
You liked it as a kid. You drink it as a dad. Right. Oh, yeah.
Did you wear that stuff because Pete Rose wore that stuff or pushed it in Sports Illustrated?
High Karate.
Jordan Glass, Marvin Mickish, Patrick Strauss, Scott Tomko, Morning Arena, Bobby Leister, Mark Kurtz, Scott Snow, Lisa Poole, Linda Chris, Matt Boucher. Hi, Marina.
Hi, Marina. Was that the dog or you, Cody?
That was the dog.
Okay.
Bobby Sparkman, Ryan Hopping. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Ryan.
Heather Stewart, David Glass, Tammy Keeling, Janie Gonzalez.
Hi, Janie.
Sheriff Louderback checking in, state representative. Sheriff Louderback.
He's got to go back to work, you know.
Yeah.
The 21st.
21st. We're going to get into
the governor said, come on back.
Linda Chris says ivermectin does cause some hair loss. The last time she wormed all her donkeys, its hair fell out for 3 or 4 months. Justin Glass, Stephanie Connie says she's a success story. Johnny Houghton says take it with Sunny Delight.
Now that's a trade-off for me. If my hair starts falling out.
Lisa Poole says mix it in with jelly or peanut butter.
I might look my age.
I used to have a full head of hair.
Then got on the ivermectin. If you stand
he
on
got
your
on
head,
the ivermectin and then he lost the rest of it a week ago when the baby was born.
Oh, he's been pulling it out.
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about my leg hair.
Give us a schedule. Like, what time are you having to wake up? What time does the baby wake up?
We get up every 3 hours unless she wants to get up sooner.
Nice.
Last night I slept 4 hours and 25 minutes.
You're gonna have to teach that kid a lesson.
Over 3 spans.
She's like 10 days old. You have to teach that kid a lesson.
She's exactly 10 days old.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
No, we put her in the bassinet. That's what OSHA says.
You know, the thing I remember about being a young dad, and I wasn't that young. I was 32 when I had my first child, and took me months to lose that baby weight too. When they were newborn, they were swaddled, they were in the manger, but you know, we put them in a little bassinet thing, but it wasn't long. It wasn't long till it was just easier to have that kid in the rack with you. And the baby's always, I think I ran a little bit hotter and the baby's always slipped over next to me. But I can remember being scared to death that I was going to roll over and like hurt the baby.
Yeah.
It took me a while to learn. Number one, you really don't hurt babies. They're pretty durable. And number two, it's an uncanny, innate thing that in your sleep, you're cognizant of the baby.
Yeah.
I was amazing. I would wake up and I would find that I had my hand underneath her, you know, just whatever.
Yep.
So according to the doctors, you no longer put them in the bed with you.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't, because some moms, you know, I guess if they're,
I think it's more the blankets and everything else that you have in bed that could actually suffocate.
Or dad who rolls over on them.
Yeah, if you're high on crack and you're not aware that you're rolling over on a kid.
Maybe so. Yeah, I'm with you.
I never had that problem though. I was always, you know.
There's the Garcias, Greg and Wendy checking in.
I took a nap with the granddaughter the other day. You purely used the kid so
Absolutely.
I could take a nap.
So you could take the nap.
But I mean, I had you know, one hand on her, and
but she's older now.
Oh yeah, she's 7 whole months.
Yeah. Michelle Hawkins, Monty Howard, Jackie Parsons, Torm Bales were huge in Park City, Utah this morning.
There you go. Hi, Jackie Parsons.
Will Vincent, Ricky King.
Jackie, do I need to be worried about my hair falling out if I take that ivermectin?
Linda Christ wants to know what the baby girl's name is.
Her name's Everly Ann.
Everly Ann.
Everly is a composite of our 2 maternal grandmothers' names.
Nice.
Yeah.
Emily Castrejón, good morning.
That sounds like something you could scream pretty easy too.
It's got to roll off the tongue for sure.
I like that.
It's a cute name. I like it.
Yeah.
Unique.
It is unique.
There you go.
You're a big baseball fan. Rest in peace, Dave Parker. Hall of
Yeah.
Famer,
1978 MVP Dave Parker, part of the We Are Family crew, one of the leaders, he was to the Pirates what Mean Joe Green was to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Dave Parker, great player.
They went on when everybody thought his career was over and had some pretty good years with the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, no doubt. And deserved Hall of Famer.
74 years old, not sure if something was going on.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, I'll tell you that I think we've come a long way as a country that 74, honestly, it sounds kind of young.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, 74. Wow, it's not. Don't you feel like most people tend to die, it seems like, in their 80s?
Yeah, nowadays.
Yeah. Huh? 20 more years of this garbage.
Says he's never heard of ivermectin causing your hair fall out, and he's been using it for years.
Thanks, Zed. He's a big, hairy dude, too. Yeah. You ever notice how big Zed is?
Big man.
He was 5'10", 160 when he started taking ivermectin.
He was 5 feet when he came out of the womb.
Right. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Get up.
Mom checking in.
Start packing. The countdown to Marion taking over Mexico is 4 days. We're leaving on Friday morning.
Yep.
Jackie Parsons says, never lost any hair.
Nope.
Good morning, Tommy K.
Monty Howard says 70 is the new 50.
I don't disagree. Yeah. Tap on the wood there. I've been very blessed with solid health.
First Take Bank, Astros update. We'll dive right into it because the Astros are just on a roll. I think they've got the best record in the majors in the month of June. The Sabermaticians are going crazy over all the metrics that the Astros are just rolling through.
Astros have not lost a series in their last 11 series dating back to May.
They swept the Phillies at home. Then they took 2 of 3 from the Cubs. The only anomaly Saturday night on national TV didn't look so great against the Cubbies. Lance McCullers got the start, came back after the hamstring issue that put him on the disabled list, and couldn't get out of the 4th inning. But they came back yesterday. Fromber pitched a heck of a game.
It was interesting to hear Jeff Blum talk about Fromber, that in an era when many players have 5 or 6 pitches, Fromber basically throws fastball, curveball with an occasional changeup. And it seems to be adequate. What you see with Fromber that you can make work at the professional level is contact is his friend. When you have an infield, a defense that's as good as the Astros, and you throw a big looping ball.
Unless you hit it to Altuve.
Right, unless you hit it to Jose, who is prone to err. But Fromber, and I was listening to Roger Clemens talk about this. Roger says, you've got these kids now. They come in, they strike out the first guy, then they walk 2, then they strike out 2 more guys, and they throw 28 pitches in the inning, and they think they had a good inning. And he said, it's not that way. Fromber is a guy that can go out there and get second pitch ground out, second pitch pop up, second pitch ground out. He can throw you 6 pitches in an inning and walk out.
Yeah, and he's still going to average a strikeout an inning.
That's right. And he's really, really a good pitcher. I think Fromber's a guy that we may have a hard time hanging on to at the end of this season. I think he's eligible for free agency.
He is, and I think it's going to be tough because
Jim Crane has number 2 for anybody.
Jim Crane really hasn't, outside of Verlander, he hasn't shown a ability or willingness to throw money at starting pitchers. Remember Greg Maddox's 78 pitch complete game? We'll never see that ever again.
No, he was an artist. I watched a deal. You can Google this. It's worth watching. Justin Verlander once had, I think it was an 11 pitch inning, but he also had 3 strikeouts, I believe, in the inning. And the guy just basically said, it's the perfect inning. It's like late in the game. He's throwing it. He was irritated. They had given up, like he was up 1-0, and and somehow in the inning before there was an error and gave up a run. And when he came out for like the 8th or 9th, whatever it was, he was quite irritated and just, throwing over 100 in the 7th or 8th inning.
Greg Maddux threw 13 complete games in which he threw fewer than 100 pitches.
That's amazing. That's just.
You look at the starter for the Cubbies yesterday. He had 107 pitches through 4 2/3.
Yeah, it's an amazing difference in pitching. Frommer gives you 6 innings, gives up, scatters 5 hits, walks 2, but he strikes out 6, and a 3-to-1 ratio is money.
Yeah, 92 pitches in that 6 innings. Your buddy Brian Abreu came in, got the hold, and then Josh Hader with another save.
Abreu's a little spotty, but when he's on, he can deal.
Yeah.
And Hader pitched 1 inning and did fine, had 1 strikeout. He's going to get at least 1 strikeout every time out. Yeah. And he chose not to give up a home run, which he often does. Isaac Paredes yesterday only goes 1 for 4. Altuve goes 1 for 4, but he has a run and 2 RBIs.
2-run home run in the 5th. That was all the scoring that was needed yesterday.
Yeah, he did it. I did not know that the Hummel kid, Cooper Hummel, I did not know he switch hit. That's quite a bonus. Playing left field yesterday and switch hits. Mauricio Dubon continues to hit 1 for 3, and he's batting .239. Luis Guillaume ended up with a run. He was on base when Altuve hit, and he's batting $150. But that big man is athletic at third base, gives Paredes the ability to be in the lineup for the bat and still rest during the day.
And Dubon can play short and give Jeremy Pena a day off. Interesting lineup yesterday. Not, but yeah.
Astros Smith watch still batting .276.
Yeah, so. he's looking really good. He's had a great June as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Astros can keep it going because they go into Colorado this weekend.
Are they good?
No.
I didn't think they were good. I thought they were terrible, right?
They are terrible.
And
just how terrible are they, you ask?
Oh, wow. They're 19-65.
They're better than they were. They were on pace to win about 30 games, I think. It was going to be terrible. They were like, I don't think at any point had anybody in the majors had a worse winning percentage ever, like entering June.
So their run differential, they're down 221 runs.
Yeah.
Go up and look at the Astros and Rangers. I want to show you something right here. The Astros are plus 46. The Rangers are plus 16. The Texas Rangers they are the last team in the majors that haven't given up at least 300 runs. So the Rangers for the year are in 4th place in their division,
9 games back.
But they've scored 308 runs and only given up 292. The Baltimore Orioles have given up 400 plus. Yeah. The New York Yankees have given up 309. The Rangers are in 4th place in arguably the worst division in the American League, and they've given up only 292 runs. I can't put my quick fix on what that means, except that maybe there's games that they're just getting blown out.
Yeah, it's a real anomaly because most teams with winning records, and they're close. But usually if you have a positive run differential in almost any sport or point differential, goal differential, you've got a winning record. The Rangers are 2 games below 500 right now and struggling even though they're outscoring opponents.
And the Astros were the next to last team to give up 300 runs. We're only at 304.
Yeah.
So you got that. Baseball is a statistician's dream spot. And I'm sure you've had enough of it.
Ricky King says that means the Astros will struggle against the Rockies.
They probably
really
could
hope not.
But it is baseball. But they're rolling right now. Palace Bingo, where friends meet friends. We're coming off a successful week last week. Hello, J-Dub. Successful week last week with the Wade and Carter crew. A great time. The streak continues of us winning.
Yeah, we had a couple winners.
Get in and have fun at Palace Bingo. USA Concrete Coatings. Charlie Garcia would love to help you. Period. You need to level a slab. You need to level a home that's on pier and beam. You need to fix a driveway that's got cracks in it. They can seal those cracks. They can even put down a tough as nails polyurethane coat that won't crack, stick, peel, or fade. It's a great product. It's a great look for your home. It's cheaper than ripping out and putting down new concrete. Veracruz Restaurant, get in today. The best queso, the best guac, the best hot sauce, homemade chips, great Tex-Mex fare. Lee and Ida Caballero will take care of you and your family. You got catering, give them a call. They'd love to do it. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Let Allen help you get from here to there. If you've got a problem, call Allen. He'll come out and help you. They respond like a first responder. They're there. They help secure the scene, put out the cones. They will help protect you and your family. The Dollar Floor Store.
They're on the floor
camera.
Yep. Go
Yep.
see them.
Whether you need tiling, luxury vinyl. That's the big thing now. Luxury vinyl. It looks and feels and has the texture of, say, hardwood floors, but without the hassle. You just wet mop it and move on.
Absolutely.
Dollar Floor Store's got it all.
You wreck one strip, you just pull it up,
replace it,
glue a new one down.
There you go. And the chopping block. Ash, tell us about that.
Yeah, they were out at the Quail Creek yesterday at the fire department. They were doing their barbecue cook-off and everything out there, fundraiser. Fully, the meat cases are fully stocked, is what I was trying to say. Lots of boudin in now. The ribeye sale is over. We'll find out a little bit later on what's going to be this week's specials, but don't forget Wacky Wing Wednesday. Junior went in on Wednesday, bought some wings, cooked them up this weekend. He was telling me about it yesterday, said they're really good. So
they make an all-American cheeseburger sausage that is just incredible.
They're hands down the best boudin I have found
they make
in the region. Really good.
If they tell you it's spicy, it is.
Yeah, but they've got non-spicy ones too, so you can have one for any palate.
All right, shift gears. By the way, thank you to the First State Bank of Louise, the friendliest bank anywhere. They're big enough to get the job done, small enough to know you by name. Go by there today, and please tell them Wade and Carter sent you. Set your kid up with a free checking account, free savings account. Encourage them to use both, and teach them a little bit about money management.
Ricky King says the Astros will struggle against the Rockies. B. Small, who's a Rangers fan, says the Astros will sweep the Rockies.
But I think that's like the double hex reverse, because he doesn't like.
No.
But he's got to be, Brian, no humor. You've got to be frustrated with the Rangers. Just really.
Yeah, you really do.
They're just really. Although, I mean, we did call it back then that year that they won was a one-off. They weren't built for the long haul.
No.
They just had some miraculous things happen. What's that right fielder's name? Garcia, that giant guy. Yeah. But I mean, he's, I have no idea how he's playing this year, but I didn't think he was destined for greatness.
Yeah, I don't either. Where do you want to start?
I want to see why Houston parents sued HISD.
Okay. Texas Scorecard reporting this one this morning. Houston family taking the state's largest school district to court. Like HISD doesn't have enough problems. Taken over by the state a couple of years ago. Now they're getting sued over a daughter's secret social gender transition.
Well, they're claiming their daughter was socially transitioned by school staff in direct defiance of their explicit instructions. There you go. They ought to be sued, right? If you try to tell my kid, hey, it's okay, Billy, you want to be Wilhelmina, it's okay. No, quit placating my kid. I told you not to do it. According to the suit, more than 6 Bel Air high school employees referred to the Osborne's daughter, who is biologically female, using a masculine name and male pronouns for 2 years. Situation began in the 9th grade when the student's theater teacher distributed a worksheet asking for students' names and pronouns. Sarah Osborne specifically requested that the teachers use her daughter's legal name and female pronouns. However, the student altered the worksheet, crossing out the original entry and writing in he, him. And the teachers adhered to that. And they're saying, hey, you have effectively helped groom my child. I'm tired of it. I don't blame them. I'd sue them too. Teach them how to read and write and do math and leave them alone.
Parents met with the principal of the school, Bel Air High School, and addressed the situation directly.
Principal Niggly, Niggli. You can't let that that's got to come out, doesn't it? Principal Niggly.
I think, yeah. Attempted a compromise. Teachers refer to the student only by her last name to avoid any use of any pronouns at all. The Osbornes rejected that compromise.
Supporting the transition.
Remember when teachers didn't care what your nickname was,
right?
What you wanted to be called? Brent Carter.
What?
If you wanted, yeah. But if you wanted to be called Bubba, teacher would go, yeah, whatever, Brent.
Yep.
I mean, if you went by your middle name and your given name, your first name was your given name, that they would call you your first name.
Right. Big Small says we used to stop at Piggly Niggly. Well played, son. Well played.
Yeah. What else is happening in
you were going to tell me about your friend, the one you supported, Ketanji Brown.
Ketanji Brown Jackson and the
Sheila Jackson Lee. Remember her?
Yeah, unfortunately. Canada apparently going to scrap the proposed tax that had caused Donald Trump to suspend all trade talks with Canada. They were going to slap a tax on American tech companies.
Now, are the Canadians screaming like when Donald Trump decided, hey, after listening to the public, I'm going to back off my automatic aggressive deportation of certain groups of people. And he decided to do that. Now, of course, it's back on.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it?
Yeah, this was a digital services tax that was going to be implemented today. And when Canada hadn't moved on that, Donald Trump said, we're going to suspend trade talks between the two countries. And
Mr. Trump called the levy a blatant attack and said he would inform Canada within a week about the duties they will be paying to do business with the United States of America. You never can tell. He may stoke up the B-2 bombers. Just fly over.
Drop the Moab on Parliament.
Drop the Moab on the Parliament over there just to get their attention. Didn't want to kill anybody, just felt he owed it to them.
Canada's 3% digital services tax had been in place since last year, but the first payments weren't due until today. And the tax, though, is retroactive, meaning that companies were going to have to pay $2.7 billion to the Canadian government.
Which is like $1 trillion Canadian.
It is almost $1 trillion Canadian.
It could actually pay for their military.
Prime Minister Carney said the cancellation of the tax will put the talks back on track with the goal of reaching an agreement on July 21st. We'll see if Donald Trump believes that putting that tax on hold will actually get the talks going the way they were. But once again, Canada all up in arms, and now all of a sudden, here's what's interesting. Is that not a tariff? You're providing digital services in Canada. We're going to tax you 3%. How's that not a tariff?
It's a tariff.
It's only a tariff if Donald Trump imposes it.
That's right.
Everybody else can call it a tax, and the world is like okay with it.
I couldn't agree more. Yes, Kathleen Leininger, 100% agree with that statement. The education system has moved to aggressively position themselves as the parent. Following the communist model, the faster the Department of Education is shut down, the better off our students and this country will be. How is
this impacted by the DOE though? This is HISD making a stupid decision against the parents' wishes.
But it's to me, I see what you're saying and agree, but it's an extension of a philosophy that says we are the educators, we know best, we know how to raise your kid, we decide who gets this, who gets that, we determine if little Billy, was he bruised at home? Let's call CPS. We control things. I went to school with a group of kids that were always bleeding. Every kid, and very, very few were ever abused at home or anything else. Now I think you have more abuse at home. And I do agree. If you see something, say something. Obviously, I'm not against a school looking out for kids, but it's become who they are. They are the parent now.
I always had a black eye. I asked my brothers, and it was from stupid
keep
stuff.
That left up.
I'd walk into something, I'd miss a ball, something.
Yeah.
Playing tackle football in the backyard, whatever.
BB gun fights.
No, more snowballs and dirt clumps.
Oh,
We were a pacifist family. Didn't have guns.
yeah.
Yeah, Heather Stewart says they'll lose their teaching certificates if there's suspected abuse that does not get reported. But here's
true. But again, it's systemic, right? I mean, I don't disagree that if you see something, say something. But there you have it. There you have it. You'll lose your teaching certificate if you don't intervene. So you have to, especially a young teacher, errs on the side of maybe over intervening.
And there's training on it.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. They're all required to do it. I get it, but it's like, here's how we're going to manipulate the family.
But here's the problem I've got with what HISD did, because the same liberals will then turn around and tell you, well, the human brain ain't fully developed in 25, so we've got to try to protect these kids and young adults from the poor decisions they're going to make.
Right.
But they're all headlong into doing what HISD did, playing along with a kid's delusion.
Not to mention the fact that a number of the countries in Europe have quit doing like gender transition surgeries.
Absolutely.
And things like, hey,
because
you're right. They're not developed and they're having to reverse them all.
And the regret is huge. That's why Europe has stopped it.
Well, think about it. You know, if you feel this way, you're not normal. You either have mental health issues or something. The suicide rate among these folks is very high, and the suicide delusion, the thoughts of suicide, are very high.
And it doesn't change. That's the thing. That was the argument when they first started doing this. Well, this will help the suicide rate. This will help them live. It hasn't changed. It's like 40%.
Yeah.
It's higher than the suicide rate of our veterans.
This could make Micah Patton very nervous right here. Texas Education Board delays vote on new standards for trustee training.
It's just this big government getting in the way.
We have to train our trustees.
State Board of Education Chair Aaron Kinsey said, we need to create an ad hoc committee to further consider the revised training framework. Just what we need out of government. Almost expected, right? Another committee on the committee.
It's like the Baptist church. There'll be a cover dish supper to discuss training.
We're going to put the casserole committee together to discuss the casseroles at this Sunday's church picnic.
You had that one lady that always brought the banana pudding, and it was so good.
Banana pudding's either real good or real bad.
Well,
there's no kind of hit or miss. There's no.
You got to add a little Cool Whip in there, and get that going.
It's either hit or miss. There's no middle ground with
and you can't pudding. Be chinchy with, and they've got to be. Are they Nilla? You got to be. There's Nabisco and there's.
Yeah, you got to use the Nilla.
Right, and you've got to completely line the bottom, Cody, and you line the bottom with them flat side down, so the little bumps are, and then you get your stuff in there, and you mix your bananas in with the whipped cream. Or the Cool Whip.
But don't go cheap and use the boxed banana pudding from Jell-O. You've got to make it with the custard and the whole. This has got to be the real thing. And the other thing
then you got to put bananas on top, and then more Nilla wafers, and you got to eat it right then. It can't be soft.
No, you don't want brown bananas either.
Oh no!
I have tried a banana pudding where somebody used like a sponge cake or a homemade. Oh, that was really good. But we're going on a different level.
Well, that's more of like a true dessert dish.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just a,
nobody has time for that.
A church social mainstay.
So state lawmakers trying to add a couple of items to Governor Abbott's special legislative session that will convene on July 21st.
Can't they only address things that have been addressed in the session?
I think they can address things that the governor places on the agenda. It's his session. He can take his ball and go home if he wants to. But apparently, a couple of things that have jumped to the forefront, according to the Texas scorecard, is a ban on taxpayer-funded lobbying. Curious to learn a little bit more of this. And then banning in-state tuition for illegal aliens. That one's pretty much fairly straightforward.
I've never understood what the problem is with this. So here's the deal. You live here. Okay. So you're a citizen and you want to go to Texas or A&M. They have in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition. If you come here from Vancouver or Alberta, or you come here from Pullman, Washington, you transfer down, you're going to pay out-of-state tuition because you're not a Texan.
And some schools have international tuitions.
So if you are here illegally, just because it's the only place he's ever lived, but you're not a Texan.
And I think that's where they're going with this.
I don't understand the problem, though. Why is that a problem? I mean, number one, you're going to Texas and you're not being deported. Shut up and pay the higher premium. You pay the higher tuition. I don't get it. And there's these bleeding hearts that are like, shouldn't we educate them if they're here? Well, yeah, but if they've got the money to go to college, not to mention half of it's probably coming through some government program already.
I'd be curious to know. Well, I mean, is it? I don't know where the pressure's coming from. Is it coming from schools who are? I mean, they're not losing tuition revenue because they're in school.
Yeah.
What are they trying to? Are they wanting to get more tuition out of them? But I think you're going to end up with less enrollment.
That's not going to hurt any of our universities. We've got plenty of enrollment.
Yeah, not really.
Well,
a couple of the big ones, yeah. The little ones are.
I'm thinking Power 5.
Struggling to get them in there. Special session.
You got a lot of illegals over there and right now at UHV?
I have no idea.
There's no reason to know, right?
Nope.
I mean, they don't. Nobody has to wear like a scarlet.
No, there's nothing. I would have no idea who is and who isn't at any university, to be honest.
I mean, when they tell you, hey, Ash, I got this kid that plays soccer. We'd like to get him in. He's illegal. You're like, what? I mean, in the first question you ask, I mean, how many goals a game? And that,
more or less. What do you? Right? What position do you play, and how well do you play it?
Yeah, we can make this work.
Yeah,
in the narthex. What is the narthex anyway?
That's where the committee's meeting.
Brian had that come back. It's a church thing, but it's also a university thing. We always meet in the narthex.
So it was originally created as a place to prepare your heart before you entered the sanctuary of the church.
The narthex.
The narthex.
So it's like the foyer.
It's the same thing, yes.
Oh, well, why don't we just call it the foyer? Well, I guess the narthex.
Foyer for you Canadians.
Because you can't put foyer in the King James Version.
Oh, there you have it. There you have it.
It wasn't in there.
The narthex.
It wasn't a word back then.
It's got to be. It was French, and he translated it into German.
And I'm sorry, Bobby. If you want to call back, call back. And by the way, I apologize for just for everything in general.
Just a blanket apology this morning on a Monday.
I don't know. I was going to tell you something. I saw that I missed a call from Bobby last year. Let's just call him back because here he is. He's calling. Let me make sure we're connected to the roadie. Hang on, Bobby.
Junior Sample says it's got to be the Chessman cookies in your banana pudding, and Michelle Wilson Hawkins says no Cool Whip. Got to use real whipping cream. Junior says no Cool Whip. Don't go all Yankee on us. Oh, you're getting it.
Okay, well, okay, but I mean, I'm thinking it's a look. You're coming in after a hard day's work. It's a Wednesday night covered dish. You got to whip it up.
Monty Howard says narthex is cooler than foyer.
There you go. Let's see. Bobby's there if you want to push up the Bluetooth. Bobby, you there?
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, I'm here, gentlemen. How are y'all today?
Can you help? Can you just help?
Man, my mother and grandmother used to do it the old-fashioned way, and that's the only way to do it.
What are we talking? Sex now? Or what are we talking about? Missionary? Just straight missionary?
The banana pudding.
Oh, okay. Banana pudding. Okay.
Got to clarify here. We've covered a lot of topics.
I'm just trying to. Yeah. I mean, I'm not picturing your grandmother in some kind of sex swing. I just thought maybe you had something you wanted to share. I don't know.
You got to keep up.
So the point I want to make today, or the question I have for you guys is, when do you put Lance McCullers in the bullpen? Because he's had a couple bad outings.
Well, but,
and he,
I look at it this way, because the last bad outing was a result of him tweaking his hamstring. And this one is a result of him coming off that hamstring. I'm not sure the hammy's completely healed.
But and that's my question, I guess, is did we rush him back too soon?
5 years? 5 years, Bobby.
Well, after the hammy, but I don't know.
I agree.
Or is it, no offense to him, is he just too old?
I don't think so.
No,
he's
I think
still
he's
throwing
okay.
92, 93, 94. He's not 96, 97 like he might have been, but I mean, maybe he needs to reevaluate who he went to Tommy John surgery with, because Shohei Ohtani's throwing him 102 miles an hour.
Can you believe that? Ohtani threw one 102 the other day.
But I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to learn how to pitch a little bit more than just fire it. But it's a long season as well. And the Astros aren't going to win every game. And
won't it take care of itself when Eric Getty comes back? Won't it take care of itself when you get Christian Javier back?
They're going to have to send some of those guys who have options.
Some of those guys
back to the minors.
I was just hoping we'd sweep the Cubs. That
I
was
agree.
the thing. And then when Tucker hit that home run, it kind of, it hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it hurt. So, but
yeah, I agree 100%. I agree.
But I think
guys have a great Monday.
Hey, we appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, Bobby.
That's Bobby Leister.
Yep.
Who says Narthex is cool? Does that be small?
I think that was Monty Howard.
Nice, Monty, with the opinion of the Narthex. Jonathan Williams says I'm taking it to the Dr. Drew level. Yeah. I think more like at my age, I'm more like that. What was that lady's name? Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth.
Yeah.
Jonathan Williams asks, how big of an issue is it really? Like, how many illegals are at UT to cause such a push?
Not many.
He'd rather have the STAR test addressed first.
I agree.
I agree. I think there's
100%.
bigger things on the agenda. Some folks are saying that the governor didn't get to any of the state Republican Party's 8 priorities, except maybe border security.
The whole thing came about as just a matter of common sense. You're like, well, if you're going to be rounding up people for being illegal and sending them out of state, why would you let somebody have in-state tuition just because they simply live in the state? They're not here. They're not a Texas resident. They're an illegal immigrant. So why do they get the discounted rate?
And I think they only do if they've graduated from a Texas high school. That's the caveat in the rules right now.
Seeing that, I mean, I'll be honest, it just gives us something to talk about. I really couldn't care less.
No.
But I think that it's important. That's kind of where the legislature is right now.
And here's the problem with it. If it's such a priority for the state, because I'm assuming that they're getting in-state tuition, but state grants are probably paying for a large portion of them. When you look at the socioeconomic status of the illegals in the state of Texas.
Yep.
Right? Because after all, according to the left, they're doing the jobs that no American wants to do.
Which, by the way, means they're identifiable and means they should be deported. But nobody mentions this as saying, oh, well, if we can just address this, it's going to help the quality of education.
But what's the state going to okay, let's say, just play this out here. Let's say the state does this. What is the state going to do with all the Texas grants they no longer have to pay to these universities? You think they're going to go spend it on something else? It's got to be, it's a P game. It's a money grab. What do they want that money for?
And it's not that much money.
What's the pet interest here, or the special interest of this legislator that he wants funded, that there's currently wasn't enough money in the $25 billion surplus to fund his special interest, that he's going after this?
Yeah.
We already have problems in this state with education levels. We talk about it all the time on this show.
Kathleen Langer says, well, part of it is they rigged the stats and process by making it illegal to ask or document their legal status.
But unless you're on an F1 visa, you don't know. I don't know.
F1, F2, whatever it takes. Folks, white trash services and white trash site services. If you live in the counties, anywhere near Victoria, anywhere within our range, certainly white trash is your county trash favorite. Doing a great job, still leaving early in the morning. I got a note from BJ Nelson. Today is the last day to sign up. And tell me what the story is.
Well, if you sign up, you'll be entered into a drawing, new customers only. You will then be entered into a drawing to win 11 months of free trash collection service from White Trash Services, because they are celebrating their 11th anniversary. So today's the last day.
Right.
Drawing will happen in July, I believe, after the July 4th. BJ, for listening, please clarify that, because I'm trying to remember that from memory, but I believe it's going to happen after July 4th, because nobody wants to make a drawing this week. It's a short week.
No, but you'll be notified if you win. Monty, I'm going to say something rude in a minute. Cheswick Furniture, Cheswick and Love, make your house a home.
Saw Bobby Leon last week, him and Charlotte Borchers Leon. It was great to see them.
Get in and see why you just always do better at Chestnut. The best furniture, the best prices, the best products. Get in and see them. Brandis, reach out to Commander Cody. He's got a kid to feed. Come on, people. Let him help you with your website, with your Facebook presence.
I think he needs to go to Chestnut and maybe buy a new bed since he's only sleeping 4 hours.
Been trying to get one of those recliners that have the massager in it.
There you go. You don't need it anymore. You're up all the time.
Yeah, right.
I think Sleep Number bed will do that for you.
Maybe so.
Maybe so. Commander can help you with a plethora of internet issues. Went services, went electrical
for all your electrical needs. Backup generator time. You know, we've had one named hurricane in the Atlanta hurricane season. I think it went off in the North Atlantic somewhere. Didn't really do anything. So this morning, as you and I were perusing the channels, it's interesting how they all seem to have that conversation because they were all talking about weather.
Right.
And how bad this hurricane. I mean, it was just uncanny how every single major network this morning was dealing with weather.
Oh, yeah. It's all about weather. Atzenover and Atzenover.com. If the weather's bad, go to Atzenover.com. If the weather's good, it's a nice, brisk walk around all the beautiful new vehicles, new and gently pre-owned vehicles.
You'll see them all
at Atzenover, right there on the Navarro Motor Mile, just down the road from higher prices. They're stacking them deep, selling them cheap, selling cars like candy bars. If the flags are flying, people are buying it. If you don't buy it today, they'll be there tomorrow, and you could buy a car somewhere else. But why would you? Because then you got to drive it. It's worth pointing out, Monty Howard says he paid out-of-state tuition at Texas, which was less at the time than in-state at the University of Virginia. As if Monty Howard could get into Virginia. You know what I'm saying? That's like me saying I paid in-state tuition at Texas because it was cheaper than going to Duke. Well, Duke didn't want me.
You know what's funny?
Was he living on the quad? What do they call that there? Is it the quad? What do they call that in Virginia?
Setting up a tent city.
Right. I mean, Monty Howard. He meant University of Virginia Junior College.
Yeah. UVA wise.
Come on, Monty. Cheaper than going to Harvard.
You know what's funny? For tuition purposes.
And Ralph Sampson. Him and Ralph Sampson were roommates at Virginia. Yeah.
For tuition purposes, if you're an American and you grew up in Idaho and you moved to Texas to go to school, you're considered out of state you can't set up residency in Texas for tuition purposes.
No, but if you come here from Guatemala, you're a Texan.
But I think it's interesting that you can't adjust your status.
Northern Virginia Community College for 3 years and then transferred it all down to Texas.
So you were there for 3 years. It was a 1-year program.
Right. 8 hours transferred. He graduates from UT. It's a great
year.
It's a great deal. Oh. I'm a Texas grad, and I'm not sure I could get in. John Paul Hull and I joke all the time. He's an Aggie and has obviously done very well. And if we couldn't get into our respective universities today, they would tell me to go to Blinn.
You might not even get into Blinn.
No, man.
According to the New York Times.
Oh,
we talked a little.
It's got to be.
Yeah. Well,
as Trump says, the failing New York Times. They wouldn't have a newspaper if it wasn't for Trump.
He's probably not wrong.
The failing New York Times, he calls it.
Yeah. The big, beautiful bill, the Senate debating the bill that would add at least $3.3 trillion to the debt. They're going to be voting on it this morning, or about the time we sign off is when the Senate is expected to vote on the bill this morning. Not sure if it can pass the Senate and win House approval before the July 4th deadline.
I think it will.
Why do they wait so long?
Well, they're saying there's no reason to even rush it. They're saying,
but they've known the July 4th deadline was coming. And here's why they do this, folks. I asked the question. It's facetious because I'll give you the answer.
It was rhetorical.
It was a rhetorical question. Knew.
Yeah. He already has an opinion. He may not know.
No, it's so they can come up against this July 4th deadline that Donald Trump, because they passed this bill last month in the House.
You think they get some leverage, some concessions?
Yes, that's exactly why they do it. It's all a game. Congressional Budget Office says $3.3 trillion of the national debt over the next decade.
That's hardly over the next day. How much is it next week?
Yeah.
But see, billions don't get anybody's attention anymore. I joked about that earlier, but it's only $1 billion.
Well, because they want to extend the 2017 tax cuts, and they talk about it like tax cuts are a bad thing. Cut the damn spending.
That's not going to happen.
That goes with the tax cuts. Then you don't have to worry about the tax cuts. Oh, we're going to lose revenue. Stop spending. Pretty simple solution, Congress.
So Tom Tillis, a senator from North Carolina, said he won't run for re-election next year. Donald Trump wore him out because Tillis is now arguing that the bill will break the president's promise not to cut Medicaid. But I have heard Speaker Mike Johnson, I mean, down the line, they've all said, we're not cutting beneficiary benefits. We're cutting overhead. I don't understand that. I do get frustrated, Jonathan Williams. I do get frustrated with the dumbing down of America. I mean, it really is the big, beautiful bill. It's just stupid. That's stupid. And you've got people going, you've got the left going, it's the big, ugly bill. Just stop.
Yeah. These are elected officials, and they end up in like schoolyard.
It's ugly. It's just so stupid.
I think how they should start voting on bills in the Senate and the House, they should start playing Red Rover. Whoever gets clotheslined and hits the ground, whoever can't get through, whoever's left who gets to vote.
Andrew Alvarez points out that Chuck Schumer forced a full word-for-word reading of the bill. They were like on page 900. He goes, I'm not 100% upset with that. I'm not either. But Monty Howard adds, by the Senate parliamentarian. I mean, how about that guy thinking he's got a pretty easy gig, and then he gets there and they go, by the way, read this out loud. Start now.
I think that guy this time's a female, but I could be wrong.
I think it is. I think she's a holdover as well. I think she was there before.
Yeah. Apparently done a fairly good job on it.
I think so.
I mean, you're just there basically to observe and enforce Robert's rules of order.
Right. Well, but as we've learned at the state level, the parliamentarian decides which bills get presented, which bills don't. Very, very important position. A parliamentarian can find loopholes in Robert's rules that keep certain legislation from being voted upon.
Oh, let's see. We have not talked about this, but we need to. We haven't been putting it off, but I think we've just been waiting. But the left is all up in arms over the Supreme Court's Birthright citizenship decision, which does not end birthright citizenship. It basically stops lower courts from declaring injunctions, blanket injunctions that would stop Donald Trump's orders from going forward, and basically neuters lower courts. That's kind of the quick synopsis of it.
Yeah. So what it's doing is it's addressing the injunctions, universal injunctions, where like a judge in New York can affect the implementation of a president's executive order nationwide. So let's say that President Trump issues an order about something to do with our border, and a judge in Connecticut decides that that's unconstitutional. He can inject an injunction that stops everything. And they're using as the test case birthright citizenship, which will still have to be determined when that makes its way to the Supreme Court. But it is worth noting that as romantic as it may be, the idea of two women, both in labor, coming across, for example, our southern border, one has a baby in the water and everybody's fine, but her baby is still a Mexican citizen only. The other makes it to our shore and gives birth on the beach, and somehow that baby has dual citizenship. It was not designed for that. It was not designed for labor babies to come across our border. The entire purpose in 1868, 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, was to, for once and all, put to rest the idea that the children of slaves might not be Americans. We freed them. Now, what are we going to do with them? Well, their kids are citizens of the United States. 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, an amendment to the Constitution showed that children born in the U.S. are Americans.
I wonder how long it took news of the 14th Amendment to make its way to Texas.
1967. But you have to wonder, no kidding. Yeah, it's so obvious that was the purpose of, which to me, you could say, well, that's a loophole and Congress needs to close that loophole or they need to continue to honor that law. But it just shows you how absurd the idea was at the time.
And if you actually listen,
people crossing our border and dropping kids.
Yeah, it wasn't happening.
No, it didn't happen.
And if you actually read some of the papers and positions around the 14th Amendment, they specifically addressed people that were here temporarily on vacation.
Oh, yeah. Now it all comes
subject
down
to other
countries.
Yeah.
If you're here on a tourist visa and it's only 90 days, you're exempt.
But the Supreme Court held that universal injunctions likely exceed the equitable authority that Congress has given to federal courts. The court grants the government's applications for a partial stay of the injunctions and are below, but only to the extent that the injunctions are broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff withstanding to sue. And then blah, 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 blah. You can read the whole thing. New York Times actually has the whole thing.
So what ends up happening? How did that thing get voted upon?
6-3, right? Was the final. CASA took this. Has CASA now, are they exceeding what they were designed and formed to do? Court advocates, court appointed special advocates, right?
Right.
For children. Are they stepping out of their lane here? I don't know.
It's just a class action suit. So here's what's interesting. Sotomayor filed the dissenting opinion in which Kagan and Jackson joined. So this is what happens. The court rules 6-3, and the majority opinion in this case, Barrett.
Applications for partial stays were granted, and the Supreme Court.
And they say why. Yes. Here's why we did it. And then the people that are against it say, hey, here's why we're against it. Because it totally neglects the rights of those who can't speak for themselves. Maybe they have a language barrier. It's not fair to them that their kids aren't Americans. Whatever the argument is, it happens. So tell them about the one where your friend, your close personal friend, Katangi, that really brilliant lady. Tell us about the one where she was the only, she was like the lone survivor.
So Justice Sotomayor filed the dissenting opinion in which Kagan and Jackson both joined in on. There's the 6-3.
So we agree with this opinion.
Jackson then filed a separate dissenting opinion that the other two dissenters wanted nothing to do with.
And in fact, they all basically teamed up to say, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
They kind of did.
Because it's become pretty apparent she doesn't understand how the 600 plus federal district courts came about and how they're, it's interesting.
She also apparently has very little working knowledge of the United States Constitution, which is kind of important when you're a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah. Which was what they pointed out.
Andrew Everett says the ACLU has filed a class action lawsuit that is a big issue. It states that it supports the rights of basically even people that are unborn yet. With the language they have in their class action, it would also be legit. It would also legitimize abortion because the unborn have rights according to what unborn is going to say, I want to exercise my right to be aborted. I don't want to be born. Although it could be a really wise kid in today's world.
I just think it's interesting that they're fighting for the protections of unborn children for citizenship.
But we don't care if they get born or not.
Exactly.
If they live, they're a citizen. If they don't, oh, well, that's just the will. That's how it goes. That's your choice. Kind of lets you know how ignorant abortion is.
Andrew Alvarez asked if him and Cody Sugar, who used to wrestle in the independent Texas circuit, can participate in the clotheslining of politicians.
Yes,
you could be called in because Bernie Sanders can't probably hold anybody back with his arm. But
the fact that Bernie Sanders is upset with the big, beautiful bill lets me know it needs to pass.
Absolutely.
That's the fact that it's the worst piece of legislation ever.
Yep. Yeah,
Gotta
when
pass.
the left is crying like that, you know it's
yeah.
a pretty good piece of legislation.
Amen. Folks, it's the top of the hour. We hope you have a great day. You can't win the week if you don't
Win Monday.
Go get them, folks. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Far around. I've been locked up for driving 120